November 30th, 2022. It might just sound like another day on the calendar, right? But was it?
Because on that day, a new tool was quietly released to the public. There was no big splashy announcement, no Super Bowl ad. It was just an open door.
And almost overnight, the world of higher education found itself right at the epicenter of a revolution that, honestly, nobody really saw coming.
So that's what we're going to dive into today. We're going to unpack that revolution. We've pulled together research from all over the globe. We're talking scholars in South Africa, Brazil, Turkey, Ecuador, all looking at the same thing: the incredible promise, the very real peril, and the path forward for artificial intelligence in the university.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The arrival of generative AI wasn't just some tech update. No. It was a shockwave. It sent ripples through every single lecture hall and faculty lounge on the planet.
And the speed of this, it's just been absolutely breathtaking. Think about it. ChatGPT hits 1 million users in just 5 days. Then, boom, a few months later we get the much more powerful GPT-4, and then, not much more than a year after that, GPT-4o drops, and suddenly it can handle not just text, but audio and video too. This isn't gradual change, It's a technological big bang.
Now, when a force this powerful hits, you really get two main reactions. You get fear and you get excitement. Let's start with the exciting part, the incredible promise AI holds for a whole new frontier in teaching and learning.
So, what can this stuff actually do? Well, the researchers we looked at see potential everywhere. For a student, it's like having a tireless personal tutor who's on call 24/7. For a professor, it's an assistant that can handle all the boring administrative stuff, freeing them up to actually teach. And for the university as a whole, it's this powerful analytical engine that can crunch data to make the entire institution run better.
This professor from a top engineering program down in Brazil, I think he says it perfectly. He sees it as a tool to build new challenges, a much better search engine, and even a way to create entire virtual realities for students to learn in. The potential is just huge. But, and you knew there was a but coming, with great power comes great peril. For every dream of a perfect future, there's a nightmare scenario right behind it. So let's flip the coin and look at the challenges and risks that have academics really worried.
And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's the central paradox of this technology. You've got this one tool. On one hand, it's a fantastic creative assistant, right? It can supercharge a student's learning. But on the other hand, it can become what some call a cognitive crutch, a shortcut that lets those all-important critical thinking skills just wither away. It's literally two sides of the exact same coin.
And listen, this isn't just a theory. A fascinating study out of Spain had senior journalism students go head-to-head with an AI to write a news lead. A basic journalism skill, answering the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why. The results? The AI was consistently just a little bit better. It hit 3.67 of the W's on average, while the students got 3.08. Now, it's a small difference, but it makes that threat of our skills getting weaker feel very, very real.
So the list of concerns is pretty long and it's serious. You've got the obvious stuff like cheating, but then there are these deeper problems. These AIs can hallucinate. They just make things up, including fake sources, but say it with total confidence. They can also absorb and even amplify the biases from the data they were trained on. And maybe the biggest worry of all, something researchers in Brazil, South Africa, and Ecuador all pointed out, the cost of these tools could make the gap between the rich and poor even wider, creating a world of AI haves and have-nots.
So you've got this huge wave of promise and peril crashing down. How are the people on the ground, the professors, the students, how are they actually dealing with it all? What's really happening inside the university?
I just love this quote from a communications professor in Turkey. He's actually noticed a whole new style of writing popping up, and he calls it ChatGPT language and literature. You know that kind of polished but slightly generic text we're all starting to recognize? That's it. And it perfectly captures the new challenge for teachers. How do you teach students to use this amazing tool without letting it do all their thinking for them?
But here's the good news. People are adapting, and it really works. A study in Ecuador measured how competent teachers were at using tech to empower their students. Before they got any specialized AI training, their average score was a 1.6 out of 5. After the training, it shot up to 3.7.
It just goes to show you that with the right kind of support, teachers can absolutely master these new tools.
This whole adaptation process is creating a completely new reality. In fact, those Turkish researchers came up with a fantastic term for today's students: generation prompt. Their argument is simple but pretty profound. The core skill of the future won't be writing the essay itself, but crafting the perfect prompt to guide the AI. That is a fundamental shift in what we even consider a valuable skill.
But this shift in skills creates a new kind of social dynamic. A study from Ecuador uses this sociological concept called symbolic violence to explain it. The theory basically says that as being good at prompting becomes a key skill, a new power structure just sort of appears naturally. The people who master these tools, the members of Generation Prompt, they gain influence and status. And those who can't or won't adapt, well, they risk getting left behind.
So, with all these complex new tools, new skills, and new power dynamics, how in the world do we forge a path forward? How do we navigate the future of what it means to learn and to know things?
So how does a university even begin to manage all this? Well, researchers in South Africa laid out a really clear 4-step plan. Step 1, you need rules, clear policies on how to use AI ethically. Step 2, you need access. Invest in the tech so you don't widen that digital divide. Step 3, you have to train your people. Get faculty up to speed so they can teach with these tools and teach about them critically. And all of that leads to step 4. You have to update what you teach, shifting the focus away from just memorizing facts to skills like critical thinking and, yes, prompt engineering.
And this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's a truly global conversation. You've got huge organizations like UNESCO calling for guidelines to make sure education stays human-centered. You have hundreds of universities in Europe coming together to recommit to core academic values. And in Africa, you have leaders looking at this as a chance to use tech to help fix old imbalances in who gets to create and share knowledge.
All of this brings us to a final and kind of philosophical question. And to get there, we need to define this term, cognitive labor. What is it? Well, it's the hard work of learning. It's the sweat, the frustration, that feeling of wrestling with a really tough idea until finally it clicks. It's the struggle of thinking.
And that brings us to this really profound thought from 2 scholars at the University of Johannesburg. They argue that the cognitive labor, the sweat and the exhaustion of thinking things through, that isn't just a part of education. They say it is the point of education. The struggle is how we learn.
And so we'll leave you with this question to chew on. As we build these incredible tools that can do more and more of our thinking for us, we have to stop and ask, who or what is teaching us how to think? And what might we lose if we forget?